Hi, and welcome to Till Death Do Us Watch Party. This week we've watched The Legend of Vox Machina, Season 2, Episode 7, The Fey Realm. And as we left off into the Rhyme Cleft, Keela's spell has gone horribly awry. Poor Kiki, she just can't catch a break, it seems.
It's not her fault. Like, what are you going to do when a dragon rams into you?
Yeah. So, Percy and Vex and Vax and Kiki end up all in what they discover is the Fey Realm. It's very pretty. It's very Fey. They kill a poor hummingbird. And by they, I mean the plants.
Everything there is adorable but lethal.
Yes. Percy seems to have studied everything there is to know about it and is insufferable know-it-all about it. Meanwhile, Vax is trying out to be the most emo boy of them all still, and the Fey Realm can totally sense it. They like to play it off that it was his being the champion of the Matron of Ravens that was why the Fey Realm hated him, but I think it was just because he was just being an emo sad boy the whole time.
I think so too.
I mean, yes, he does. He is now the champion of the goddess of death, and he's in a realm of unbridled life and chaos. But he's also an emo sad boy. Let's be real. No offense to all the emo sad boys out there, but you get what you get when that happens. Let's see. They basically just kind of are traveling through it, trying to find their way. And they run across a creature called Garmelli, a little satyr voiced by a hobbit.
Billy Boyd.
And then...
Hello, my name is Billy Boyd.
They basically just kind of get into like a little bit of a fight. Keyleth and, with like some weird ooze. Keyleth and Vex end up high as skunks.
That part was funny.
Trinket ends up talking like Cheech for a moment to Vex, and then Garmelli's like, okay, you guys entertain me, I'll be the guide for you through the Fey Realm. Seems like a pretty easy deal.
Yeah. I get high and you take me where I want to go. Okay, cool.
Yeah. But then on the flip side, because the episode's kind of interspersed between cutting back and forth, but it doesn't make a lot of sense discussing it to go like, this happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened. So elsewhere, though, we find out that Scanlan, Pike, and Grog have been kind of shunted to another part of Taldore, which they weren't on that continent. So the spell flung them on the prime material plane somewhere. Pike is still bleeding out, but she's not dead. Very important to note that. But apparently she's still bleeding a lot, and Grog's sword's just drinking it in from afar while not being held.
That was pretty good.
I hunger.
Well, I mean, you know, the fact that it doesn't have to cut at this point, it can just siphon like from a radius. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and then it grew.
Yeah, it turned into like a crazy two-handed bastard sword looking thing.
Yeah, it was pretty wicked looking. And it's trying to basically be a cursed intelligent item and take control of Grog. It looks like it's about to work until he decides that he's just going to break it on a rock, which I have a little bit of issues with that. But I think that's mainly because it shouldn't be that easy to destroy a magical weapon, let alone a cursed magical weapon.
I mean, he's probably had a strength of 20 before he got the girdle.
Yeah.
And the girdle probably drove him up to like 22, 23. So...
Well, in 5e terms, I think a girl only... The belt of Dwarvenkind, I think only does... I don't even think it gives you any strength. It's a belt of Dwarvenkind. It's not like it's a belt of ogre strength. And ogre strength only gives you, I think, a 19.
I don't know. I mean, I would imagine before he even put that belt on, he already had an 18.
I think he had a 20. I mean, I agree with that. But to quote Ashton from Campaign 3, magic items just don't break. And then he breaks something, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, because magic items inherently usually aren't very fragile because the magic that imbues them makes them more solid.
So I always thought that 3.5 always did you had to have the weapon be masterwork. Yeah. And then you can enchant it.
Yeah.
So to me, the masterwork quality of the weapon is what makes it nigh unbreakable.
Well, I mean, you could still sunder weapons, but I didn't feel like that was like... It didn't feel like in the moment that was the best way to sunder a cursed item of that regard.
I'm just saying that off the hip. We don't practice any of this before. This is just banter at this point. But like
didn't know my thoughts on that.
But like 5th ed, they've taken away the whole it has to be masterwork thing. Yeah. So I could walk up with a perfectly average sword and be like, I want this to be like +1 edge.
Well, to be fair, in 5th ed, they're just like, magic's really rare. Chunk.
Well, I think that was initially the thought when they put out the player's handbook and then like the DMG.
No, magic's still kind of rare. At least in all the games that we played in. Maybe we just don't get a lot of loot.
Not the one that I ran. I was just like, Mardi Gras beats.
It's raining magic.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. Yeah. It's raining magic.
Common or uncommon, go to work.
But Grog does destroy Craven's Edge in a fountain of blood. Mm-hmm. You do hear Craven's Edge give him a warning of, I will take you with me. And it didn't kill Grog, but I think Grog wishes it had.
Well, yeah, I think it moved his strength to like he could barely move.
I think it was at a
3 or 4.
Yeah, I think he got bumped to like a 3. It siphoned almost all his strength from him, and it's
like they were moving him. They were moving him in a wheelbarrow.
Yeah, well, that's in the next episode, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, that's like the very brief gist of the episode. There's not like it feels like where they didn't really do a lot apart from each other. It was more of like establishing where they were in the Fey Realm and getting them attached to their guide, and then resolving the Craven's Edge story in the other side. So it felt like it was 2 fairly short A and B stories that were connected but not.
Now, let me ask you this. Was there like any reason to do that? Were like certain players not able to be at the table? So there was
Ashley had missed most of this, as we've discussed before, because of her TV role. But I mean, for the most part, no, because everybody was involved in the Grog storyline with Craven's Edge, and everybody was involved in the Fey Realm. So, and there was stuff that happened in the Fey Realm that when we finish the next episode, I can discuss a little bit more that is omitted because of how they handled it. But for the most part, it didn't really change too much. I did notice that one of the things that I liked about the Fey Realm that they showed is when they first got there, you saw them walking through the grass, and you saw the grass was changing colors. Mm-hmm. And one of the first things they realized was the grass changed colors, and if they weren't nice to the plants would get mad at them. The grass at one point was turning like rage red on them, and they had to like quickly like apologize to all the grass around them. So like, even though they didn't really show that from the campaign, they hinted at it for the people who had followed the campaign, going, hey, look, the grass is changing colors. Which that was like a little fun side note. And then there was a couple of things like when Vex was tripping, obviously you saw the heart on Percy. That was one of the things that stood out to me. It's like when she looked at Percy at first, she saw kind of a heart go around him. But at one point also, she's like surrounded by all these red eyes, which are very important for a different campaign. But it does stand out.
Okay. Guessing that's nothing you can tell me about.
Well, if you're going to watch the Mighty Nine when it comes out, I don't want to tell you.
Stay tuned for that fucking tidbit in like 3 years.
Probably longer.
Yeah.
But those eyes play a significant role if they're the one, because they look a lot like the same eyes that were on some of the shirts they put out for the Mighty Nine merchandise. And if that's the case, it feels like it's a tie-in. But they've also slowly been like dropping in characters that look like their characters throughout the entire season too. So all the Mighty Nine have like appeared like in an episode here or there.
So is that okay? I'll ask again. Is that the green-eyed kid?
No.
Am I going to get any satisfaction on that this season?
I don't know. I don't know if you'll get that satisfaction or if that's going to be a payoff in season 3. We'll discuss it after last episode. If it's not resolved, you can let me know if you really want me to burst that bubble.
Is it like a ruin? Like a big ruin? Or
I can't answer that.
So apparently, yes, it is. But like that's weird. Like
I can't answer.
We're going into Star Wars territory again, where you had to read the book if you want to know the character.
No. It's not. You had to read the book. It's something that naturally resolved in campaign, and I just happen to have watched the campaign, and you haven't.
Okay, so like in the first season when Keith walks up to the thing and like all the eyes open up, and she's like, "Oh," and then like this season where she's like, "Oh, the eyes," and then that's how she figures out how they saw him. Mm-hmm. Is it kind of like that? Maybe.
Yes, it's more like that.
It's a big bad in the future. Got it.
Let's see. So I do want to go talk about Craven's Edge too before I start asking you questions. Right. So with Craven's Edge, I was 2 things with it. One, I was very disappointed in the YouTube community. They absolutely spoiled that for me because somebody just put Grog Destroys Craven's Edge as their title of their video. And anybody who has watched Campaign 1 knows that Craven's Edge doesn't get destroyed in the campaign. They don't destroy the weapon. They shunt it to a demiplane. They don't destroy it. It is still whole and existing in some weird demiplane that they had encountered in a previous adventure.
Why would they do that?
Because they didn't know how to destroy it. Because magic items are hard to destroy.
There could be children on that demiplane.
No, it was like a demiplane to like some like demon or something. So
they gave a demon a powerful weapon.
That was one of the whole things that they were like, oh, maybe this wasn't a good idea. But they had technically defeated it. But so there's some moral quandaries about it. But they were like, we have to get this sword away from Grog. Because Grog died because of Craven's Edge in the campaign. He didn't lose all his strength. He flat out died. And they couldn't bring him back because the weapon had cursed him and had siphoned all of his soul out of him. And so they had to do, I think Matt allowed them to do a greater restoration ritual combined with a resurrection ritual to allow to try to break the bond between Grog and Craven's Edge to resurrect him.
So he house ruled that shit.
Yes.
Got it.
Because it was one of those things of, as Travis would have Grog use the sword, it would pump his strength up. And if he didn't engage in a long or short rest, he wouldn't lose the strength. And Travis got greedy. But the complication was that was something, there was a hidden component to that. And every time he went a whole day without rest, when he had been feeding the blade, there was a chance the blade could feed off him. And I think he failed. I think he might, I don't remember if it was a nat 1 or just a fail. But he failed the saving throw that he needed to make. So Grog just kind of was like sitting there, and everyone woke up in the morning, and suddenly he just face planted into the ground dead.
Okay. And
I thought that was fun. I thought that was unique and different, and it was interesting. And I liked the variation that they made, but I enjoyed what they did in the campaign. I felt that was compelling. Also, I don't think I ever mentioned this to you. In the campaign, Percy knew what the sword was the whole time. Because Percy originally picked up the sword in the campaign. So Taliesin picked up the sword, and Matt gave him the readout. And then Taliesin, who is himself an agent of chaos at times, was like, yeah, I'm just going to give this to Grog. So a player knowingly gave the dumbest character on the table an intelligent weapon that was very evil.
That's intervention time right there.
And so, but there was a lot more, like, people noticed it a lot more in the campaign too, a lot of the stuff going on with Craven's Edge.
Well, I mean, when Grog is talking to himself and they're like, you okay? And then, like, when the character's like, Grog's acting kind of weird, was Taliesin just like
sometimes.
It's fucked up.
Sometimes.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It promotes role play and it's kind of amusing, but at the same time, it's like that can go bad on you in the worst places.
Yeah. But you'll come to learn as you get to know Grog more and you get to know Travis more that Travis too is an agent of chaos at times. I can't discuss all those details wise, but I think I've told you a little bit about one of the items that he found that he used. And we're not going to discuss it here because it is a spoiler because they might do things with that still.
Okay.
But that's all pretty much everything. Lance, did anything in particular stand out to you that you'd like to talk about? I feel like I've done all the talking so far.
No. It's you. I mean, you've given me a lot of interesting information. Stood out to me. The one thing that really jumped off the episode to me was like of course the mockingbird getting ripped in half. That was funny. It's like, it's so cute. And then like the plants eat it and they're like, oh my god. I thought that was funny. But the thing I really liked is cursed weapon. It's a blood drinker. Cool. It talks. Cool. It has an ego and it's basically slowly consuming you. Cool. It ranged sucked blood. That's fucked up. Like that don't happen usually. That's usually you have to put the pointy end in the meat bag to make it do the thing. And then it was just like, well, I'll just take it. And then, like, you saw the blood drift across into the sword. I was like, dude, throw that thing in the fucking void. Yeah.
It was an appropriate weapon for a vampire lord, though.
No shit.
Now you know why Silas had it.
But he has to sleep every night. He has to go into the coffin.
Yeah, but at the same time, he's also a vampire lord, so he's much more of like, yes, we will make all of our enemies bleed and drink of their blood, my brethren.
Well, I mean, it's a double for him.
Yeah.
If he drinks blood, it's like, oh, I've been nourished. But if he walks around stabbing people in the head, he's like, I've been nourished and I'm getting strong.
Yeah.
So it's like, why would you even bear fangs at that point?
Yeah.
But
you know, if you notice, Silas didn't bear fangs often when they fought him.
No, and he looked very cool. Like
I like Silas.
Well, I liked that whole storyline.
The Briarwoods. That was why they chose the Briarwoods originally. When they targeted to make the Kickstarter, they were just going to make the Briarwood arc because they knew that was one of their best stories that they had put forward. Mm-hmm. Then when the Kickstarter kind of grew out of their control, they were like, okay, well, we'll give you these other 3 episodes, and I guess we just really love you and thank you so much. It was originally just supposed to be a couple of like like 1 or 2 episodes, and it turned to like 3, and then suddenly they had $10 million and they had no idea what they were going to do.
Fucking A.
Right?
Good on you. That's awesome.
Any standout characters?
You're probably gonna get me tired of saying it. Grog. Like Grog was awesome. Like it's. I like it when you give the character that has a wicked obvious stat sync, and you give him a lot of storyline and a lot of talking points. I just like him arguing with the sword. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
How about you?
I'm trying to remember if this was in this episode or if it was in the next episode. Was the Garmilli notebook in this episode? I think it was.
I think so.
I will honestly say I love Garmilli and I love that notebook. That notebook is horrifying on so many levels.
It was like Percy had like 10 dicks or something like that?
3.
Okay.
But still, and they all had a different person's face on the head.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
It was amusing.
Yeah, no, if I recall correctly, because I don't believe they're going to go with this because Scanlan, this was something Scanlan requested, or was it Pike? Somebody requested that he draw them like an orgy picture of the whole people when they brought him into Scanlan's basically magnificent mansion, because that was a spell Scanlan had in the campaign, and they had him like draw like this like a completely obscene portrait of all of them, and Scanlan was like, "I want to hang this in Greystone Cat Keep."
And kudos to the actual viewer who drew that for them and sent it to them. All 28,000 of you. But yeah, no, that'd be something I'd request too. Yeah. I gotta be honest though, Garmilli, other than the fact that it was Billy Boyd as the voice, I didn't find him that interesting. Like I like satyrs and I like that they're cheeky and everything like that, but he was just kind of hanging around. He was there for exposition.
His role got greatly diminished by the fact that they shrunk the Fey Wild arc or portion, but they really needed to do that because it went on for way too long in the actual campaign. In my opinion, I like almost noped out of it at one point because it was just like it was trudging through like the same stuff over and over and over. But Garmilli in that is much more fun, much more cheeky trickster kind of character that's fun.
Let me ask this. Did Garmelie show up late in that? Like, was it Matt, like, this is a fun thing you're doing, and they're not getting the point, so they're not getting out?
No, Garmelie kind of showed up right away.
Okay. Just making sure that wasn't the GM going, guess I'll put in an NPC to tell you where to go. Oh, look, there's a hook over there. Go bite it. Yeah. You know, like...
It might have been part of that, but I think he might just already have those pre-planned because that crew is very notorious for side quest. Random dungeon I don't need even because it's up for a level 9 party and we're level 17, but we're gonna loot it anyway.
So it's like you playing Horizon, you're level 55 and you barely even scratched the surface of the game.
Hey, I have gone and gotten the vine cutter from the Demeter seeds and gotten Demeter, so I don't want to hear it.
So you can open the metal flowers?
Yes.
You must have did that yesterday.
I did that while y'all were recording on Saturday night.
Okay, because all I know is I was like, go look at that question mark. You're like, big metal flower, can't do it. And that was like 3 days ago. So, all right. Just checking.
And I'm only level 43. Only. But I think that's about it for this episode. What about you? Is there anything else you want to add?
No, not really. There was some other interesting little tidbits. I've got to be honest with you. This isn't like my favorite episode of the season, in my opinion. Come on, bring the clicks. Come on. Bring the clicks. Come on. Bring the clicks.
Come on.
Oh, here come the clicks now.
It wasn't your favorite episode?
It wasn't my favorite episode of the season. It was good, but like the other episodes so far had just so much more.
Yeah.
So it was good, but it was just like this one. It's like you kind of get bored of it.
Yeah.
So
I'll agree. It wasn't my favorite, but I still enjoyed it. I know what it's setting up, and that makes me more excited.
Okay. Well, can't wait to hear more.
Until next time.
I've been Lance.
And I'm Amber.
And we are Voltron. See ya.
Bye.